Well, hi folks, I'm going to do a super quick update, and this is really cool. I've got the oil rigs going on behind me. I've got this new software set up, which is kind of fun to play with a little bit. Puts a little bit more interest into the videos. I know they're not gas rigs or gas drills, but some of the gas comes out of oil wells, so there is an association. I'm going to have a look at natural gas now, and then we'll scan across a couple of the other instruments that I'm trading, and then I'll just finish off just really a starter for the day to get you going. We'll see what's happening. So let's start with natural gas. We've got the 4-hour and the daily chart. Let's start with the daily chart because it kind of summarizes the whole thing. And here we are on the daily chart. You can see we broke out through that little downward trend line, insignificant trend line really, because we're trading across in a range. But there we go, we've broken up above it. And the 20-day moving average, which is this green line, and we're heading up towards this zone here at around about 278. I was a little bit worried that we weren't going to hold the gains we made yesterday, but we did. We're holding firm so far, and it looks good. So next stop is 278, and if we can get through there, then 280. And crucially, if we get above 280, somewhere around about 280, and then 288, 290, and I think there's pretty much clear space above us now, we should rush up to $3 super fast. When we get to $3, I'll be closing all my positions and waiting to see what happens next. Let's have a look at this on the 4-hour chart, and you can see why I think this is holding pretty well. And we pulled back a little bit. That was to be expected, just back into this pink zone. But this last 4-hour candle is quite bullish. That's just a bull flag, really. And those gains have been held well. We haven't seen any dramatic downward candles, any sharp spikes, no wick highs to note. Just a gentle pullback because we had a strong move yesterday, and now this last 4-hour candle is just moving up. We're back at 272. So I think that overall this looks good. And on this 4-hour chart, you can see we had this channel drawn in here. We're aiming for the top of this long-term channel. You can see that on the day chart too. But first of all, $3, that's this red line. Once we get above this area here at around about 285, 286, 290, we should rush up very quickly to that $3 level, and we need to fill this gap. Now, someone was asking me yesterday, what is the gap? Well, the gap is when we rushed up to $3 in June, and over the weekend we collapsed from $3 back down to 278. So 278 is the bottom of the gap. It's a crucial level. The bottom of the gap and the top of the gap, in other words, the place before the gap starts on either side, sometimes acts as a price magnet, but sometimes acts as a support or resistance level. In this case, it's been a resistance level. You can see we've struggled to, remember that number is 278. We've struggled to get up through there time and time again. That's where we are at the moment here. Just below 278. That's the bottom of the gap. If we can get through there, we'll get into the gap. And once we get into the gap, there's not much space, not much liquidity to prevent us going straight to $3. Apart from this one attempt, but in the bigger picture, this one attempt that we had it was a sort of end of June, is much lower consequence than the fact that we've been smashing up against the bottom of the gap. That's where we're heading today. If we can get through that level. So for me, this level here, 278, is the most important level on the chart, the bottom of the gap. Once we get into the gap, there's not a lot of atmospheric pressure to prevent us rushing up to $3. And once we get to $3, I'm going to exit my long trade. 251 is my entry position all the way down here where this green arrow is. I'll be getting out for a decent profit and then waiting to see what happens. So that's my plan on natural gas. So far, so good. I like the way today's holding up really firmly, really strong, pretty solid. Let's just scan through the other charts, and I'm not even going to enlarge them all. I've got WTI at the bottom right here. And WTI, I thought would get up to about that $84 level, perhaps just through it and then begin to fall back. Perhaps we're not going to make it as far as that. I don't know. That green line there, we're just falling back, basically following this red arrow that I had drawn in. Actually, I will expand this chart because there are people involved in gas, also invariably involved in oil too. But this is my plan. Pull back down to about $74. This purple line, which is where the 100 period moving average is coming up underneath us in the day chart. Actually, that's the 50, and then a bounce off there, perhaps a spike through that downward trend line, and then a bounce back up again, and back up to where we are at the moment at around $84. So that's the path I think we'll follow on WTI. Whether we'll get to $84, $85, $86 first, and then pull back, or we'll just pull straight back from here. I don't know. I'm not in any positions on WTI right now. And then gold, let's have a look at gold. Nothing to add. You can have a look at my previous videos, but just holding above there, we've got a sort of head and shoulders pattern really forming here, still on the daily chart. There's the left shoulder, head, right shoulder, just poking down through that slightly. I'm going to remove that channel line because it's deceiving. So we want to get up to the underside of this longer term channel. And if we move up there over the next couple of days, that'll take us above $2,000. We should get up to the current all-time high at 2,070 plus, and then move higher as time goes on. That's going to take a bit of time to consolidate. A lot depends on the dollar and the markets, stock markets, risk on, risk off, and all sorts of things like that. So we'll have to see what happens with gold. I'm long from $1,919 long on gold. Copper, you can see, is just falling down as I expected. If you're trading copper, I would wait for fairly decent pullbacks on copper, at least down to this rising purple trend line, which is a long-term trend line. But probably if we do see economic deterioration in conditions, we should see copper pull back a little bit further, perhaps down as far as $3.20, maybe even $3. So let's watch copper. I'm not trading copper at the moment. And the only other thing I'm in here, I've got a little position long on platinum, not worth speaking about. And uranium, got a decent, healthy position long on uranium. What worries me about uranium, make a note of this, is that there are all sorts of people leaping in on the uranium bandwagon. And I'm seeing people selling uranium penny stocks and people with video sponsorships on YouTube promoting uranium ETFs and stocks and things like that. I really don't like that. I don't like the fact that there's a bit of hype being generated about uranium. I think overall uranium is a good asset to hold. It's got a really good future. But I think in the short term, everyone sort of hyping it up, I don't like that at all. And when you see that sort of thing, it's normally a very bad sign for any market that you're invested in. Keep that in mind. Overall, though, I'm hoping for uranium to go up to $30 from where we are at the moment. I'm long from $21.50. We're at $22.50 now, hoping to get up to $30 and then $60 and then $90. But we might get some short-term reaction to the, I don't know what you would call it, internet pump and dump type hype that's creeping in. I really don't like that, and that worries me somewhat. But anyway, I've got my position on uranium. And then when it comes to stocks, well, we saw Apple continuing on its way down yesterday. Pre-market has just bounced up a little bit. We took profit at 178 after getting in at 196. So really, really good profit on Apple over the last couple of days. Tesla, we went short on yesterday, still holding that short position. AMD, short position on AMD. Those are just small positions and with tight stop losses or hedges. I don't know how those are going to work out. But overall, I think these markets are coming down. I'd like to see NASDAQ and S&P coming off a little bit more today. I think they will. And then the other one that I'm interested in is NVIDIA. The fact that we've broken down through this rising trend line on NVIDIA, the fact that we've got this massive gap below us means that we have space, loads of space, to get down to about $380, maybe $350. That's the all-time high, the previous all-time high, right in the center of the gap. It's going to form an interesting challenge because it is right in the middle of the gap. The price will want to fill the gap completely, take us down to $320, but we've got $350 right in the middle. I think we'll get halfway into the gap if we get there. First of all, I think we're going to bounce off the top of the gap. Top of the gap's a price magnet, but it's also a support level. So we probably bounce off the top of the gap, have a little rally, perhaps all the way back up to the 50-period moving average, and then back down into the gap, down to the previous all-time high at around about $345, $350. That's where the 100-period moving average is. And then a significant bounce off there, probably back halfway to the 50-period moving average, maybe back to 400, the big round number, and then eventually down to the bottom of the gap at $317, $318. And that's where I think we'll form a more solid base on NVIDIA. So it looks impossible at the moment. This is the way the Apple chart looked like only a few days ago now. And Apple did exactly what it did. And it had a big drop, a 10% drop. If this falls 10%, that's 40, it would take us down to about 400 to start. We're at 450 now. So that would take us down to about 400. And then we could go further because this stock is so overextended. There's been such a lot of hype about AI. No one thought that Apple was going to do this, but it did. It dropped all the way down. The moment it broke that long, very powerful, very neat, orderly, too perfect trend line, broke through the 20-period moving average, it smashed down all the way down here. No one thought that was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be that dramatic, but luckily we were short right at the top there. Same thing with Nvidia. No one thinks that's going to happen. I'm not too sure it's going to happen either, to be honest. But if it does something similar to Apple, and there's no reason why it shouldn't, except for the fact that AI stocks are being super pumped, and there's still a lot of excitement about them. And Apple did not get onto the AI bandwagon in the aggressive manner in which it could have. So they probably missed a trick there. Not enough AI. All right, yen pairs. Well, we had a bit of a scare this morning. Yen pairs all rallied up again. We're short across the board on all these yen pairs, but it looks like they've now tried to make another top. So we just a new, I don't know, 15-year high on Swiss franc yen. The other ones didn't get quite as high, a little bit on euro yen, but the others now just falling back again, especially Aussie and CAD, the two currencies which did not raise their interest rates. Those countries, obviously, not the currencies. And then the currency majors, well, we're long on euro and long on the pound and looking to get long on Australian dollar. And that's all there is on that. And overall, I think the euro is going to 1.13, pound's going to 1.33. 1.16 on the euro, 1.33 on the pound, and that's the sort of main play on that. Well, I hope you've had a fantastic start to the week. We've had a pretty good start, fantastic week and month last month, and it's been good trading so far. But we really need these markets, especially gold, to rally for us. We need natural gas to carry on. We need the yen pairs to come off and the stock markets to come off a wee bit. We'll be looking to buy back into stocks on a 10-12% correction on S&P and on NASDAQ. Please give this video a thumbs up and like the oil wells behind me, the oil rigs. It's pretty fun to watch. So give those a thumb up, even if you don't give me a thumb up. Take care. Have a great trading day. There goes my phone. That is a song that I wrote, a rap song. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll put it up on the video one day. And that's my 4-hour rollover, which means I've got to get to my charts. Speak to you soon.